In the 1600s, Amsterdam wasn't just a city. It was the world's first global economic engine, a high-frequency trading hub built on water and ambition. It was the era of the Dutch Golden Age, a digital-like transition where a small, swampy outpost upgraded its code to become the wealthiest metropolis on the planet. Welcome to Binary BC, where we decode the forgotten frequencies of history. Subscribe to Binary BC now to witness the most advanced neural reconstructions of the cities that built our modern world. Our data stream begins on the peaceful banks of the Amstel River in 1622. This is the lifeblood of the city, the very river that gave Amsterdam its name. In this AI-rendered pastoral scene, we see fishermen tending nets and boats gliding across a surface that acted as a 17th-century highway. But there is a hidden layer here. A massive dam was constructed on this water, effectively booting up the city's existence. As Amsterdam's wealth began to skyrocket, these tranquil riverbanks were quickly overwritten by a sprawling network of fortifications and industrial warehouses. We shift our focus to the city's edge, to the imposing Haarlem Gate. These star-shaped bastions weren't just for show, they were a high-security firewall. The Dutch were locked in an 80-year struggle for independence against the Spanish Empire, and Amsterdam was the primary target. Notice the windmills dotting the ramparts. They weren't grinding grain, they were the city's drainage processors. Sitting below sea level, Amsterdam was a constant battle against the tide. The Dutch famously claimed that while God created the earth, they created the Netherlands. By the 1600s, the city was expanding so fast that its walls had to be re-rendered multiple times, creating the iconic concentric rings of canals known as the Canal Belt. Subscribe to Binary BC as we trace these mathematical expansions of the past. Moving toward the Old Harbor Basin, we see the workhorses of the Dutch economy, the small canal barges and fishing boats. These were the local data packets that kept the city's population fed. While the massive East Indiamen sailed the oceans, these smaller vessels moved timber from the Baltic and grain from the countryside with incredible efficiency. Amsterdam's genius was in its organization. It was the world's most advanced logistics hub, transferring goods from deep-sea ships to shallow water boats faster than any competitor in Europe. At the main harbor, we see a forest of masts that represents the peak of global commerce. Each ship anchored here was a successful transaction. Silk from China, spices from the Maluku Islands, sugar from Brazil, and timber from Scandinavia. Amsterdam didn't produce these goods. It mastered the art of being the global middleman, the world's primary server for trade. This was the home of the VOC, the Dutch East India Company, the world's first multinational corporation and the first to ever issue stock. At its height, the VOC was an empire within an empire, employing nearly 70,000 people and controlling the flow of global wealth. Guarding the southern approach were the massive blockhouses of 1651. These structures were both military shields and customs points, ensuring that every piece of cargo entering the city paid its dues to the state. But when the data stream shifts to winter, the entire system changed. The Amstel would freeze solid, and the trade highway became a public plaza. Wealthy merchants and laborers alike would glide across the ice in a rare moment of social equilibrium. These winter festivals are a reminder that Amsterdam was a living community, not just a ledger of profits. We now enter the new market, dominated by the Waag or the Way House. Originally a city gate, it was repurposed into the central processing unit for commerce. Every significant transaction involving grain, gold, or spices had to be verified here to ensure the integrity of the market. This building also housed the powerful guilds, including the surgeons. It was within these very walls that the events of Rembrandt's famous anatomy lesson took place. Amsterdam combined free market capitalism with intelligent regulation to create a competitive advantage that lasted a century. For a look at the absolute peak of Golden Age wealth, we render the Trippenhuis, completed in 1662. This wasn't just a house, it was a monument to the arms trade, built by brothers who made a fortune supplying weapons to the continent. In Amsterdam, property was taxed based on canal frontage, making wide buildings like this an extreme display of power. Inside, these canal houses were filled with marble, gilded ceilings, and the world's finest art. This was the elite of the 17th century, the regents who ran the global economy and funded the masters like Rembrandt and Vermeer. Our journey reaches the nerve center of global capitalism, the Amsterdam Exchange. Designed in 1611, this was the site where the modern financial world was effectively invented. In this courtyard, merchants from across the globe shouted prices and negotiated futures contracts. This was the world's first modern stock exchange. When the VOC issued shares, they could be traded here, creating a level of liquidity that the world had never seen. This innovation allowed investors to exit their positions without waiting years for a ship to return. But this system also birthed the world's first major economic bubble, tulip mania. In 1637, the price of a single tulip bulb reached the cost of a luxury house before the market suffered a catastrophic crash, a warning about speculative fever that still resonates today. At the absolute center of the city lies Dam Square. This was the original damming point of the river and the heartbeat of civic life. The town hall, now the Royal Palace, stands as a massive stone declaration of Amsterdam's influence. The city was a republic within a republic, wielding so much financial power that its merchants were said to hold the purse strings of kings. The square was a chaotic, diverse environment where sailors from the East Indies rubbed shoulders with European bankers. By 1650, the population had exploded to over 200,000, making it one of the largest and most complex urban environments in the world. Finally, we look up at the Westerkerk, the Western Church. Its tower, the Westertoren, stands 85 meters tall, the highest point in the city and a beacon for returning sailors. This Protestant landmark represented the spiritual core of the Dutch Republic. Its interior was famously austere, reflecting a culture that valued hard work and the word of God over lavish decoration. Somewhere within these walls lies the final resting place of Rembrandt, the man who spent his life capturing the light and shadow of this golden age. Amsterdam in the 1600s was a city that rose from the water to rewrite the rules of the world. It was a place of immense daring, ruthless profit-seeking, and incredible artistic beauty. If you want to see more lost cities and historical eras reconstructed through the power of AI, subscribe to Binary BC. Tell us in the comments which city we should render next. This is Binary BC, where the past is always being updated. We will see you in the next era.